It's fascinating when an indie series releases paid content, further pushing its brand. On the creator side, that's usually stepping out of your comfort zone, especially when trying to establish an area that has been asked quite a lot. But it seemed like they played off the interest. Released in 2007, Spirits Bloom is what I would call the closest to an Erma origin story. Specifically, as most of the comments alluded to, how her parents met. Before we start, I have to clarify. This is a paid product, and from what I've heard, you could still show the pages as long as they don't have the text and the speech bubbles. For these types of reviews, I will try to keep that to a minimum. There will be some major spoilers to keep this review going. And while Outcast is pretty cool with their fans, they have run into some copyright issues with other YouTubers in the past. I recommend you purchase the graphic novel so you can experience the story properly. This video is meant as a review, not as a form of piracy. Alright, let's do this. Our story begins with Sam and Ibiko frequently finding themselves bumping into each other and finally hitting it off. Ibiko is quick to leave, leaking out she's always on the move, but Sam offers to show her around and she agrees. Nothing seems to spark her interest until Sam catches on to her fondness towards the more gothic locales. Now, while this series has a strong knack for visual storytelling, this entry included, the dialogue interactions, however, are pretty stilted. Just the way they communicate seem to share the same speech patterns. I have no proof on how this was written out, but it really feels like this was all done on the first take and no do-overs. For a free online comic, that's fine, but for a paid product, it sticks out. I think it would have benefited them had they ran this for another draft. Throughout their dates, they leak a little bit more information about their past. It's all expressed visually, even if it's not giving off much information. This is where its main strength is at. It's not much, but these humanizing moments are appreciated from our leads, and I would have liked to see more of it. Okay, we're getting into more spoiler territory, so skip here if you haven't read the story and you're in any way interested, giving you a bit to do so. Alright, let's go. As the visits increase, so does their bond, rather quickly as we eventually get on to marriage. Until unfortunately, tragedy struck. Emiko is gone. The narrative takes its time, showing the impact this has had on Sam. Months go by, and the healing is very slow. Until, well, we know what's gonna happen. Around this point, we learn a little bit more about Emiko's past. She had a falling out with her father and ran away from home. However, everywhere she goes, some sort of disaster followed her. Likely due to her father keeping a close eye on her, to the point where he faked her death after the wedding and kidnapped her back home. She only escaped thanks to the help of one of her sisters. And despite everything going on, Sam will ensure they will get through this together, as they also have a little surprise on the way. This is by far the most famous part of the story.